Yeah, baby. We're back. I love pounding on that pad right there. I love
I'm
pounding
gonna start
on that
doing
pad.
it too.
I
Boom.
know. Yeah, we got to get you on here. Welcome. Hey.
Let's go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Lone Lab Podcast, episode 8. James, we stuck to our promise, and we are back in the lab, and it feels great. I am with the magical, the mystical, the wonderful, the beautiful, Mr. James Weber.
That's a new one.
And look who we have here. A very, very special co-host.
Boom, baby.
Co-host for the day. Not a best guest, a best co-host. Mr. John Stacks. Johnny boy!
Let's go.
Boys, thank you. What an intro.
Stacks.
Love being on here. I was wondering if I was going to get the nod from the bullpen. Going to make the cut.
Welcome to the Lone Lab Podcast, Mr. Stacks. We are episode 8. We are super excited for today's episode because we're going to have Johnny Stacks here with us throughout the whole episode. We have a really great episode for everybody. So first and foremost, thank you all for listening, for subscribing, for commenting, for engaging with us. We so appreciate it. And we are super excited to have John on with us, co-hosting for the whole episode 8 here today. John, how we doing, baby?
Doing good, baby.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Good. We've been with John for
Our whole careers.
whole
It's been
careers.
what? We're knocking on the door. We're past a decade, aren't we?
We're past a decade
of
now.
working together. A little bit of play mixed in there.
That's what's
A lot of play.
so cool about our group is, and we've said this before, I mean, we've stuck together for so long. We've been through ups and downs in both business and in life together. And it's just, it's really a great thing. And of course, we wanted to get John on here and help us co-host this awesome episode. So before we get into John's story, give everybody a bit of a preview of what we're going to do here today on Lone Lab Podcast, episode 8. Of course, we're doing mortgage rates in a minute, and we are going to have John chime in on his opinions on where the market's at, along with Mr. Weber for that segment. Then we have, probably the best interview we've and most valuable interview we've had with Randy Barcella, who is a top appraiser in the state of Illinois.
Randy kills it. It's something that you guys absolutely need to tune into. It's a can't miss. Truly.
We talked about everything with Randy, so you're not going to want to miss that. You're going to want to stick around for that whole interview. And after the interview, we're going to get into some lab tested questions, baby. And we got some good ones today. So jam-packed episode. Grateful to be here with everybody. First and foremost, Mr. Day, welcome again. Give us your story, brother. And we kind of want to know how you got into this crazy industry with us. I know the viewers and the listeners want to know, and kind of just start from the beginning.
Yeah, it started running on 14 years now. We just said we've been together around 10 since you boys got started. And I used to be a freight broker back in the day with who you call your best guess, I believe, right? Mr. Gabrione. We worked together over there, and then he got the tap on the shoulder to come join mortgage. And my phone rang about 3 months later. He said, dude, you got to get into this. It's so much fun helping so many people, not just moving around freight. We're making homeownership dreams come true. So you got to come do this. That was 2012 in July. And since then, like you said, ups and downs, switched companies, and we're grinding through, beating the attrition in this industry. We lost a lot of the order takers, and now it's up to the pros to just keep serving our community and expanding on our relationships. And I'm loving it. Couldn't do anything else.
When when you got that tap on the shoulder per se, or you said Joe did, best guess, and you kind of had to switch career paths, what was your mindset at that time? I mean, you're hopping into a whole different industry, right? But you're still getting into sales. So kind of similar, but I mean, were you nervous, scared? I mean,
Both.
Big, yes.
Yeah, both. Absolutely. Cause I had a base salary, at that job, and this was all commission. And, I remember sitting down with our boy, Joey P, and interviewing with him. And that was when the low rates were coming around. They'd been around for about a year. And it was just like, is it going to be here for a while? Like, I'm nervous about, how much volume, transactions, how my career is going to grow. It was just the unknowns were kind of taking over, and here we are on this run now.
14 years later, man. That's crazy.
Crazy. Before we get into mortgage rates in a minute, a little bit more on John. First property bought in the city on Green Street. Was that the first place that you bought, or did you buy before?
2015 condo.
West. And we spoke about this on the last podcast. We had a lab tested question about what's some good advice for somebody to become a first time rental property owner, and both Jimmy and John have both done the same thing. You bought your primary residence, correct? And then
Correct.
turned it into investment property. So John's a practice what you preach guy. So is Jimmy. We all are. John's been in the real estate industry, both personally himself, and then just originating loans longer than we have.
Yep.
You know, he's the old man on the crew today.
You're not give me the boomer.
He's the
title,
old
are
boomer
you?
crew. But it's cool to have John on, and John, Jimmy, and I are starting something special here out in Oak Brook as well, trying to provide some leadership to loan officers. We're doing it together. It's awesome. We're all in it for the same reasons, and it's funny, boys, how things come together that way. You know,
Right.
we've been
Meant to be.
grinding. We've been grinding kind of separately, but together for a long time, and finally have an opportunity to give back some of the things that we're learning, and we're super excited about that.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. It's something that probably a long time coming, but us three putting our heads together is going to be pretty fun.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, let's get into our first segment of the episode, mortgage rates, in a minute. And again, we have special co-host today, Mr. John Day, to kind of give his take. Boys, I mean, it's kind of the same stuff every single week or every single episode, but what's going on with rates? How are we feeling about rates? James, you can start us off because you are the master.
Well, high level is the fact that we're still in the high sixes on your average 30-year fixed conventional paper. We haven't seen much change there. We're still trading in that range, which again is something that we've been asking for a long time. It makes our jobs a little bit easier because we're not dealing with as much volatility. However, now that we're in the second half of the year, we are expecting not necessarily fireworks, but a lot more maybe uncertainty with the potential for rate cuts from the Fed.
Yeah.
Big week next week.
Yeah, big week.
Yeah, Fed
Yeah.
talk about rate cut next week. What is Johnny Day? What's your prediction? Are we cutting or are we sticking around?
I
What do you
think we're
think?
chilling. I
think
think we're
so, too.
staying flat. Cuts are to come, and I think it's going to be a slow ride down, but not yet, is my opinion, I would say.
And I
What do
don't
you think,
think
James?
I don't want them to yet
No,
either.
There's
It's
no rush into it.
It's just going to cause, like we had talked about, like turmoil almost on our side because
Mhm.
not that this is a pain, this is our job, but then we start getting a lot of calls asking about how that impacts mortgage rates. And again, we're more than happy to give the education piece, but it's worth kind of like almost beating a dead horse that the Federal Reserve, when they cut their federal funds rate, it doesn't mean that mortgage rates are dropping, let's say a quarter, right? That 6.875 doesn't become 6.625, right? Or we're not going to, if it cuts again, we're not going to see mortgage rates drop that significantly, that quickly. However, of course, those rates do move together, and it's something that we need to be able to tell our clients about and instruct them and make sure that they're comfortable with any and all home purchases that they're making.
There's a lot of different correlating factors, I feel like, that are kind of coming to fruition
Yeah.
as of late. The latest I would say that I've noticed is the tariff talks.
Sure.
You see the swings in the bond market and the equities before
Yep.
when these new deals were coming together. And I feel like we saw earlier this week and last week more talk on that, less noise.
Less
What does that
noise.
mean? Like, I'm kind of curious myself.
I know. And I mean, on the last episode too, we talked about the when Iran was bombed, like normally that would cause a much bigger stir than it did.
Tie to oil.
Yeah,
Right there.
exactly. Right. Like there's just so much going on, both geopolitically, domestically, everything. Like we talked about in the last episode, how normally that is going to be causing so much more of a stir in the market. It just really hasn't.
It's interesting why too. I don't know if I don't know, to be honest. I mean, that's my honest answer. I don't know why that big shift isn't happening with all of this turmoil, this uncertainty.
I don't know. But again, the president is nearly begging for mortgage rates to go down. There's, rumors that he's now one of his, big tax plans is to cut capital gains from real estate sales. So think about it. That's going to potentially bring a lot more inventory to the market, especially in higher income areas, because someone that owns a $10 million home in Laguna Beach, right? Somewhere crazy, somewhere fun on the ocean. They might be holding on. They might not want to sell because of the capital gains that they'll inevitably have to pay and get hit with. So
I think we're going to get momentum going down faster is what I'm feeling now, judging off of that little bit of a bond market change not happening so greatly from the new tariff deals. It just feels like we're going to start snowballing and cruising down faster. I'm hoping.
with hopeful protection on the upper end too, right? Like
Yeah.
what we've seen recently is now that the top end trading is like, we haven't really seen mortgage rates go back north of 7% on an average basis for a pretty long time now,
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah, it's a
Because
great
before
point.
it'd be up and down. It's like just seeing that 7% for people was a real turnoff.
Any thoughts, both of you guys, on our president, Mr. President, wanting to? I don't know if he wants to, but he's talking about maybe putting Jerome Powell out of office. Can he even do that?
Doesn't he have to change a bunch of laws? Like, I think he has to change a dozen laws. For that
Correct
to
me if I'm
actually
wrong, though.
happen.
He's been talking about that, right?
Yeah,
He backed off of it
hates-
last week, I feel like,
Did
a
he?
little bit. But yeah, that's been the top agenda, to give Jerome the boot.
he
Jerome
hates
the
him, and he
homie.
loves talking about how much he hates him.
Yeah. He's kind of like LOs. We don't kind of like us.
Yeah.
We always hate the Fed chair and want
matter
to
who's
lower
in there.
rates. And
Oh, that's a great person to pick on from our
yeah,
seats.
it is. It is. It's
Yeah.
an easy
Easy
target. Yeah, we're in high sixes, maybe low sevens, depending on your scenario for 30-year fixed. It's been like that, guys, for
Yeah.
Not
a
ton
while.
of change.
any major changes. I think we should maybe do an emergency pod
Mhm.
one time if
Yeah.
there's like a huge change one way or the other. But
No, that's a great idea. I think when the Fed does cut rates, we'll get behind the mics right away. Because like I said, if we can get to the masses before having to, field a bunch of phone calls and explain it, like
Got to dispel the myths.
Gotta
too.
dispel the
Remember last
myths.
time there was a cut? Rate shot up.
they went up.
They went
Yeah.
up substantially for a
Yes.
few days there.
yeah, it's been interesting. But I think the continued trend is just, they're slowly getting lower.
Mhm.
We're slowly moving. We're seeing some good pricing days, some bad pricing days. We're here for all the updates for you guys, though, on our mortgage rates in a minute segment. And sorry there hasn't been many fireworks on this one. I mean,
No,
it's
but
just-
again, it's a good thing, right? Like we all follow different people and such for this type of advice because none of us have the crystal ball. But like you look out 60 days, rates they're going to get better and worse between
Yes.
now and then. But we do expect things to be somewhat similar between now and then ultimately. But again, there will be movement between those two dates. It's just
John,
inevitable.
how do you handle that up and down kind of volatility on a daily, even weekly basis with clients? Are you having people ask you about rates, like your pre-approved
Constantly.
clients?
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and what's
that's-
what's your take on that, and how you're kind of handling that with the prospective home buyers you're working with?
That's a really good question. I feel like you just have to understand exactly what Weber just said right there. Like there's going to be ups and downs. It's going to move, but it's not going to be drastic, I feel like,
Mhm.
right now. So don't worry so much about timing. You don't want to put yourself in a bad spot and lock at the wrong time because you were so worried about it. So I usually say if it's a decent spot, lock the rate. We always have the ability to do a float down,
Yeah.
right? If it does substantially get better. And just know that as we go over time, 6 to 12 months later, there's going to be that opportunity likely to refi,
Sure.
So why jump over and trip over an eighth of a point right now? That may come last week. It may be here next week, but just trust that better rates will be there to come, and just get yourself in the house with something that you're comfortable with now, most importantly.
I tell my first time home buyers all the time, especially if they're closing on, let's say, like 30 days or less. Let's go ahead and lock at my recommendation. Of course, the choice is still yours, but I watch mortgage rates every day. It's not fun. You're buying a house. It should be fun. Let's knock out one of the tougher decisions and things that we're dealing with here, put that behind us, and start working on everything else associated with the loan.
And I think maybe people don't understand out there who are in the industry is these moves that are happening daily that we talk about, they're not affecting rates drastically. And when
Right.
you're out there pre-approved and shopping and looking for different homes, 1/8 of a percentage point, if the rate changes, is not going to change your payment by that much, where it's
It'd be $15
Fif-
depending on loan.
yeah,
size,
exactly.
you know?
and
That's a
I
great
say
point.
that with a grain of salt too, because hey, $50 could be life changing for some people, and I totally get that. But in the
Mhm.
grand scheme of things, if you're working with a loan officer that's providing you the knowledge on, hey, here's what your estimated payments are going to be, if rates are shifting 1/8 down, lower, even a quarter, your payment range that you're shopping in it's going to not change by that much, right? Like it's not going to
Right.
push you out of like, hey, I don't think I can afford this house. These small
Yeah.
changes that are happening.
Our guy Randy, that you guys will listen to soon, gives up a bunch of real-time examples in his snip. So I'll give one right now. A client wanted so badly just to be at 5.5% last week, and I was telling them, with the grain of salt, we might get back there one day, but we're just not there right now. The interest rate for this client was in the high sixes. The monthly payment delta guy was like $140, and that's more than a point, right? Like the loan
Yeah.
size was smaller,
Sure.
of course, but it just takes some educating, and that's that's what we do with things like Mortgage Coach, right? To show them options, show our clients options, to dispel those myths and really like kind of put that like psychological, I need this rate to the side, and then talk to them about building homeownership, building equity, building wealth that way.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on that too, everything's situational. If you have someone that's not under contract, then if their rate's gone and their payment's a little bit higher than where they want to be, then we could look at an exercise of getting seller credits to get that rate down, the payment to where they're comfortable with. There's a lot of things we can do to get creative and kind of fit it in the right box.
No doubt.
And those out there who are stuck on rate, and a lot of the rebuttal is well, over 30 years, it makes a huge difference.
Of course.
What
These
I'm
are
gonna say
bridge
it again,
loans.
you will not be in your first mortgage for 30 years. I will bet every single dollar I have to my name that you will not be in your mortgage for 30 years.
What's the average again?
I think 5 to 7. Maybe it's probably going up now because of the rate lock people who have those crazy low rates. But I think, as that's always my go-to is 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, I think so. And another couple of quick stats that we've probably mentioned before, but I think less than 1% of people, I don't know the exact number, actually make 360 consecutive payments on their loan. And remember, guys, too, 40% of homes in America are owned free and clear. So we're just talking about 60% of the homes that have mortgages on them. So
And 1% of those.
yeah, exactly. right.
Not
Right.
many.
Exactly.
So for sure, it makes a difference over the life of the loan, and everybody wants lower rates. We all do. But in the grand scheme of things, these 1/8 changes, quarter changes on a
Minimal.
daily basis, they're super minimal. And it should not deter you from getting into a home, because there's much more. We've spoken on this ad nauseum. There's much more than financial implications when getting into a home, especially if you're buying your first home and moving your family in there. I mean, we can hit it and continue to beat that up, and we will, because it's super important. It's not going to put you out of a position put you in a position where you're house poor. It's a smart decision.
Yeah, no doubt.
Awesome. One last thing before we get into our awesome interview with Randy is I wanted to ask you, John, your take on the housing market right now, what you're seeing with your clients. We both work in the same area, the south suburbs. What's the competition going on out there? Is it hot? Is it slowing down? Like, where's your head at with business right now?
I think it's just depends on price points, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there's still a lot of fire, in that first time home buyer, anywhere from 200 to 400. If you can find anything lower than that too, of course, there's still a lot of competition, a lot of multiple offers. When you get in the higher price points, they're sitting a little bit longer. People are having to lower price points and do reductions. But it's all, it's hyper local. We're used to this here, but the national statistics are just kind of skewed because there's a lot of softer markets out there.
That's a great
Anywhere
point.
warm, like Florida, Bible
Florida's a
Belt.
buyer's market right now.
Oh, it's
Naples,
crazy.
man.
Get out to California too. Same thing. So sellers are struggling. I mean, they're having to bring it down, but we're not seeing nearly as much as that. So that's a good thing to point out to listeners, is if you're looking at the national news level, it's going to kind of skew what's really going on here locally.
Yep.
It's funny. My dad called me the other day, and he's like, I saw, I'm seeing on the news about the housing market and it's slowing down. He's like, are you all right, man? Like, and I'm like, bro, like, stop watching Fox and CNN. Like, I mean, which I get why they're putting those headlines out. They're in news, we want clicks too, right?
It's
But
not like they're false headlines.
they're
either,
not
though. It's
either.
a national average. So.
Yes, they're not. So hyper local, that's been the theme, I think, this year, right? We've been talking
Without
about
a
that a
doubt.
lot. Hyper local, and if you're listening in the Illinois area, still pretty hot out there.
Oh yeah.
Still
We're
pretty
on
hot.
fire.
Awesome. Well, let's transition into, I mean, guys, you're going to want to listen to this.
What's an incredible interview.
We
with
had
Randy.
appraiser Randy Barcella on. He is such a treat to have on. He's I was saying, after we interviewed him, he's old school radio guy. Like, he reminded me of like listening to The Score, and like, he's awesome. He's super knowledgeable. A great dude, above all, just a
Very
great
down
dude
to
and
earth.
what he stands for. But he's an appraiser, and he is going to dispel a lot of myths that go on with appraisals, and just plenty more of great nuggets.
We had the G Spot last week, right? And focused on VA loans and then VA appraisals as well. Randy gets into all that stuff, right? A lot of the common myths that we see that potentially will be off-putting for a seller, right? In a situation where they don't want to take a VA offer. So I learned a lot from Randy. I'm sure you guys will too.
No doubt. So we'll kick it to ourselves with Randy here, and then come back for lab tested questions.
Let's do it.
Okay, we now welcome on a very special guest to the Loan Lab podcast. He is said to be in the top 1% of appraisers in Illinois, covers all 9 counties from the Wisconsin border to south to Kankakee and all of Chicago. He will give you next day and 2-day turnaround times on appraisals. He works Saturdays and Sundays, ladies and gentlemen. ABC, NBC, Fox all say he has the longest running 18 years and top rated real estate and mortgage radio show. The man, the myth, the legend, Randy Barcella.
Wow, that's so much. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you guys, because you're one of the premier companies in mortgages in the Midwest, and I'm so happy to be a part of this group. But yeah, Randy Barcella. I'm from the south side of Chicago. Parents came from Italy and Poland, and we worked hard for a living, and then we moved to the suburbs. I got into the business because my dad was working for HUD, FHA, and the VA, because my dad was a disabled vet. Great story. I mean, my dad, true American, he went to the Korea War, stepped on a landmine, blew one leg off, damaged the other, fingers missing. He was already engaged to my mom. He came back to the United States after he recovered in Schofield Barracks, Hawaii. And he told my mom when they came down there to pick him up, he says, look, I'm an invalid right now. You don't have to marry me. My mom says, yeah, I'm going to marry you. So I'm here today, not only because my mom said yes to my dad, a war hero, but I love all the war heroes of the United States, all the armed forces, no matter what you are, Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines. They held the enemy off for long enough to get my dad thrown on the basket to get back to. Wow, so it's a beautiful story. So my dad
really
was
cool
working
story.
for HUD and the FHA, and I got on the FHA fee panel after college. I went to appraiser school, but here's another story. I was a loan officer. My dad was saying, hey, Randy, you know, these loan officers, they come in here every week and they have tans on Wednesdays when they come in because they're golfing all the time and they're making a lot of money. And I'm like, oh my God. What? So I went to be a loan officer. It was really for Draper and Kramer for a couple of years. And I didn't like it because late 80s interest rates went up to 18%. And I said, wow. So
not good.
And then I heard they went to 21%, but I took some time off, a couple more years. I went back to school at the Appraisal Institute to be a real estate appraiser, where I've been ever since. And Dad got me on the fee panel for FHA. So I started FHA. So I'm happy to be here to talk because my expertise is FHA and VA loans as well as conventional. But, and I'm also a real estate broker. So real estate appraiser full-time, real estate broker part-time. Like you said, ABC, NBC, and Fox, I'm honored to say that I've got the longest running real estate and mortgage radio show now, 18 and a half years. And I was taught by the finest in the industry at Fox, AM 560, WLS, to have a successful show, you want to bring valuable content and information to the audience that'll help people. There's a lot of radio shows, and you've heard them. They come on for 6 months, 3 to 6 months, and they're gone. They sign a year contract. But it's a hotshot loan officer with a hotshot appraiser, not appraiser, a hotshot loan officer with a hotshot real estate broker, and they're saying we're the best, we're the greatest, we're on Agent Magazine, and if you're not using us, you're stupid, and we're making a lot of money. The audience changes the station immediately. So the key to a successful radio or any type of show or meeting is share valuable content and information with the audience that'll help your life to become easier and not confusing and stress-free. And I tell everybody when we started the show, let's face it, buying or selling real estate or getting a mortgage could be very confusing, complicated, and stressful. Did I say stressful?
Yeah.
So my show has always been, we dispel the myths versus reality. We draw aside the curtains, peel back the layers, open the doors, and discuss the truths. We dispel the myths versus reality.
Man, I mean,
That's a lot right there. A lot of good stuff.
You can see, or if you're watching or listening, that Randy is a professional up here and is showing his expertise and running his show for 18 years. He might blow us out of the water, boys, with how he might take over the Loan Lab podcast.
We know he's really good at his job too, because he's been on our panel for.
So can I go over some urban myths versus reality?
So before we do that, I want to ask you just a question before we get into what the people want about appraisals and myths when it comes to appraisals. Talk about how your mindset was of getting into a radio show and how the importance you saw of getting education and knowledge to people out there. And the reason I ask is this is the reason why we're doing this podcast. Yep. We need to provide valuable content.
Okay, here's the rest of my history. When we grew up in Roseland and West Pullman with not a lot of anything, we walked everywhere, took the bus outside of Chicago. We didn't have any money. But I had a great childhood. It was wonderful. We eventually moved into the suburbs. I'm 21 years old, and we moved to the southwest suburbs, Orland Park area. And I said, wow, Mom and Dad, look at this. Large houses and teenagers have cars. I said, wow. So now I'm 23, no car yet. And I wasn't dating at all because I didn't have a car. And so I saved up $300 over my teen years. And in Blue Island on the south side, there were some car dealers on Western Avenue. So I bought an $1,100 beater. I put $300 down. My mom co-signed on an auto loan for $800. But in my 20s, I was always looking up to people, men and women, and who were successful motivational speakers like Tony Robbins, Les Brown, the list goes on and on. I said, I want to be a public speaker and I want to be on stage one day. And this was just keeping to myself in my 20s and 30s. But I did what every other successful person said you should do to become successful. Eliminate all the negative people in your life. Only hang around with people that really care about you. So if you may have 20 friends that you're around, I would say, somebody asked me, how many of those 20 friends that you have will be there at 3:34 in the morning when there's a big disaster happening in your life, or you need money, or you need something? Who's going to be there? Nobody. So you need to weed. Like right now, I probably have 20,000 followers between LinkedIn and Facebook. And out of the 20,000, they're not really close friends of mine. I treasure all of them, but there's probably one or two, maybe three that we can call who care about us. They'll be there for us. So moving forward, do the things that are, a lot of people do a lot of things that are tension relieving instead of goal achieving every day. Do their 9 to 5. They're not working any more hours for the man. Go home, watch reality TV, sit on your lazy boy couch, drink a lot, and eat junk food. But you'll see on the pyramid of the population, the top 1% of people are the leaders, even 5%. And that's what you guys are. And I'm happy to be a part of your group. To be successful and a leader, you've got to do the things that are goal achieving instead of tension relieving. And it's a lot of work. And like I said, eliminate all negative people in your life. Do the right thing. And the Navy SEALs always say how to run your life and a week in your life. Do the right thing. And then again. Mm-hmm. So you want to just have good integrity, be honest, kind, caring. You want to help people. So the radio show was just a start. This guy came up to me. I had a sign on my car at the post office that said, Randy Barcella, Real Estate Appraisals. Hey, I want you to be on my radio show. I said, what? And they never had an appraiser. So this was at 105.9 WCKG at the Prudential Building on Randolph. And I went up there. That was the days of Steve Dowell and Johnny B and all. And it was just amazing. And so I was on there advertising, and I was on a few shows. Didn't make any money, didn't do anything, but I got the bug in me. I said, oh my God, I've always wanted to be a public speaker. So then I went to California twice for 4 days. I went to different other places in Hinsdale, in Oak Brook here, McDonald University. They had a big campus for the Hyatt Regency, and we had 68 people learn to do public speaking in 4 days. And we started with 68, ended up with 48, and they voted me the top public speaker for the weekend class. But I had it in me, and I was taught all the time, do things that'll help people and change their lives and eliminate stress and complications out of their life. And so I just did that because we all know people in the industry, whether it's real estate or mortgages, somebody did the wrong thing. They were deceitful. They were liars. They were cheaters. They did things that were illegal. That stays with you the rest of your life. You can't get rid of that.
Sure.
But if you just continue to surround yourself with people with the conditions you want to produce in life, you'll be fine. Just do the right thing in life is what I try to tell everybody, and you're gonna make it.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it's an amazing story, and your why behind what you do is similar to all three of our whys, and it's super impactful and makes me feel good to have you on the show with us.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming on to the show again. Should we get into dispelling some myths about these damn appraisals?
Are you kidding me?
I mean,
I'm at the edge of my seat. I'm trying to do this for you right now. Wait, Randy, tell me more of your life story.
This is going to be.
Misconceptions.
I know people are going to love this episode, love us bringing an appraiser on here, and love bringing you on here, Randy. So we need to talk about some myths versus reality with FHA, with VA, and conventional appraisals. I know you know so much about this, so why don't you start with the FHA BS of appraisals, please?
When you apply for a mortgage, typically you go conventional, FHA, or VA. Great programs. In fact, the FHA was put into existence, I think it was in the 60s, because they wanted more people to be able to afford a home. It wasn't, people have gone into this, it's really bad, but stigmatizing people. Hey, I don't want none of those FHA people buying. I'm not an FHA person. Wait a minute, you're a buyer. There's nothing wrong with an FHA loan, the whole FHA program. So there's this stigma that, oh my God. So, and a lot of times when you're asking your listing agent to put your home on the market for sale, he says in the comments, we offer FHA, VA, or conventional. They said, no, wipe the FHA off of there because, FHA has always called for this. FHA is going to call for that. And this house will never fly FHA. And I don't want to go FHA because then there's a FHA inspector that's going to come out and call for a lot of repairs. And okay, that's urban myth, everybody. I do a lot of lunch and learns at real estate brokers' offices every month. I go to mortgage companies. 27 years ago, FHA, the Home Ownership Center from Atlanta, came to the Sheraton in Lisle, Illinois. This is 27 years ago. And they said, we are no longer in the calling for repair business. If your house complies with local building or zoning codes and there's no health and safety concerns, it's okay. However, 27 years later, real estate brokers and real estate and loan officers and buyers are selling think that FHA has an inspector that comes out and calls for repairs. There are no FHA inspectors for 27 years. FHA does not call for repairs. And who calls for repairs are the appraisers. Sometimes the appraisers, well, I would say oftentimes an appraiser calls for repairs that are not even in the HUD 4000.1 handbook guideline. I don't know why. I've heard a lot of different reasons why, but here's the point. I will call for a repair if it's health and safety. Like I'm walking up to the house, the shingles are curling and some of them are flying off. It looks like the roof is at the end of its physical life. Or I go in the house and there's a flooded basement. That's safety and health right there. I go in the house, there's no furnace, there's no there's no running water. That's a big deal. Typically the appraiser will call for that. But even before the appraiser gets there, when the contract is written, you've got 5 days typically to do a home inspection. So the home inspector comes out and goes through 2.5 hours worth of, he goes in the attic, they go for the crawl space, they go in the electrical box, they go through everything possible, the furnace. I mean, it's really if there's nothing that's called for by the home inspector, there's nothing that's going to be called for by the appraiser. See, because, and this is in the HUD FHA guidelines here. I'll read it right off of the HUD guidelines here. The role of an appraiser is to observe, analyze, and report. And the role of the FHA appraiser is limited to readily observable conditions, and it is not a comprehensive as an inspection done by a home inspector. So the appraisal is not a home inspection. We go through, maybe spend 20, 25 minutes. We're looking through, we don't move anything. We don't go into anything. It's readily available. And so I had an incident where this real estate broker, he's a pretty big broker, and they did a complete rehab on a house. The appraiser called for 9 repairs. I said, oh my gosh, what are you doing? It's a new rehab. Mm-hmm. And so you got to be careful. And I want the real estate brokers listening that if you get an appraisal condition back from a mortgage company and says FHA calls for this and FHA is calling for this and this is the list, the FHA did not call for that.
It's the mortgage company.
It's the appraiser who's giving the list to the underwriter, and the underwriter sends this via your processor or whoever to the appraiser and said, or to the loan, the real estate brokers that this is what FHA is calling for. They didn't. I would suggest call me, because even if it's not my deal, 708-870-9400, 708-870-9400, Randy Barcella. And I'll tell you which of those requirements are actually there. Here's some urban myth ones. I go to a house, this was just 2 months ago, and the home inspector was there and the buyer was there. So the buyers follow me around and says, Randy, you're going to call for GFCI outlet in kitchen and bathroom because that's an FHA rule. I said, no, it's not an FHA rule. You have 3-prong grounded outlets throughout the house and a 100-amp breaker box in the basement. That's up to building code. But the home inspector said, Randy, the village requires that, so do it. And then the buyer said, Randy, you're going to call for smoke and carbon monoxide levels on each level because that's a state law. I said, FHA will instantly remove an appraiser from the HUD fee panel appraiser list if we call for smoke and carbon monoxide alarms, because FHA says you're wearing a hat now to enforce state laws, and we can't do that. So I recommend that the lender gets an expert in that field to do it, because, and then here's another one, peeling paint.
Huge
I just told these guys before we went live on the air, I said, the lender called me and said, look, the appraiser's no longer with us anymore, and I want you to go out and do the final inspection. And I said, what's the final inspection? They said, scrape and prime and paint the shed. I said, how old's the shed? They said, 3 years old. I said, that's not FHA, VA, or conventional. It's not a health or safety issue. If their house was built before 1978, there was lead-based paint throughout the United States. Since 1979, approximately now, it's illegal. You cannot manufacture lead-based paint, and you cannot buy it or sell it. So if there's lead-based paint on a house 3, 5, 10, 15 years old, I don't ever call for that, because it's not in the HUD guideline handbook, number one. It's not a health and safety concern. So it's got to be a health and safety concern. Like here's another house.
Sounds like those people just cheaped out on painting that shed, right? I mean, that's
no,
not health and
appraisers are
safety.
calling
There's
for
no
repairs,
lead in there.
not having the competency or continuing education enough to know that these things were gone. There is no FHA appraiser as of 27 years now, and FHA does not call for repairs. They have the HUD 4000.1 guideline handbook, and it's public information. You can go on there. And
Now you need to be FHA certified, though, correct?
yeah, you have to take a test, but it's pretty easy. But here's what also happened. In the last 20 years, people think that there's an FHA form and FHA rules, and there's a VA form and VA rules, and there's a conventional form and conventional rules. There's the same appraisal report is for FHA, VA, and conventional. There are no different reports. And, hey, Randy, see what the value is if we switch this from conventional to FHA. It's the same. Well, Randy, what's the value if we flip this deal from conventional to VA? What's the value now? It's the same. The value's the value. And here's another thing. This just happened this summer. This is great information. I did this appraisal that was vacant. I walk in the house, and there's a bedroom in the front, off of the front door in the living room. I saw hundreds and hundreds of black spots from maybe a half an inch to 2 inches long, maybe 5 inches long. And it looked like mold, but you can't say it's mold unless it's tested. So I took pictures. I said, this might be mold. Call a mold remediation company to go check this out. I go in the kitchen. There's no faucets. There's no furnace, and the hot water tank wasn't on. So it was an FHA deal. And also in the backyard, the garage was falling down and peeling paint, and was over 75-year-old home. And the tension wires from the phone and the cable from the alley were falling onto the ground to the house. And I took pictures of everything, and I suggested these are health and safety concerns to the underwriter. So the processor emailed me 4 days later, Randy, we're flipping this to conventional. Take these repairs off. I said, you can't. The loan officer contacted me, said, everybody knows conventional is as is, Randy. Take these repairs off. We're flipping it to conventional. No repairs. Then the branch manager, who you guys know, also contacted me, and I emailed them. There's 3 paragraphs in the Fannie Mae guideline handbook that said if there's health and safety concerns and the house is not livable and the house has to be at least average condition and all utilities on, you have to do these repairs. You can go as is, no repairs, conventional, if it's a cash deal.
Right.
That's usually a rehabber, but you can't get a mortgage if the house is not livable. So you got to watch that. As is tricky.
The peeling paint is really getting me. Can you just, one more time, in case our underwriter friends might be listening right now, anything after 1978 should not need to have peeling paint?
When you apply for a mortgage, one of the documents that are a part of the contract signing is, the seller's disclosure.
Yeah, disclosures, right?
Yeah, and was the house built before 1978? And if it was built before 1978, you automatically have to do it. And that's serious business. If you have a house that's 75 years old, 100 years old, which a lot of houses in the city and many parts of the suburbs are, it's dangerous, because if it's peeling paint, the urban myth was that the little kids are eating paint chips and they're dying. They're not. Maybe on occasion they did. But when somebody's going to remediate the lead-based paint off of the windows in the house and outside, they're sanding and scraping, and the powder gets on the floor, and the kids are crawling around. They're licking their fingers, from what I've been told, and they're getting lead-based poisoning there. That's really dangerous. You must remediate, pick up all the chips that are on the ground, vacuum all the powder that is there. It's very serious. But if you've got a house 5, 10, 15 years old, it's not lead-based paint. You can't buy or sell or manufacture lead-based paint. So I really recommend that you don't have to go through the HUD 4000.1 guideline, which is online. You can, but just call me, Randy Barcella, 708-870-9400, 708-870-9400. And I want you to just call me because I've got that. I started, like I said, when I was in my late 20s, I started as an appraiser for FHA. My family's been in it since the beginning. And I just want people to know that when rates are high at any year, and the last few years, let's say they're hovering near 7%. I know they change every week. You got to call these guys to find out what it is this week. But when rates are high, you want to have your house available cash, conventional, FHA, and VA, because FHA you can get in with 3.5% down and maybe a 580, 585 credit score, which is huge. And you want to have all these different options available to a buyer to keep the
Want the pool of buyers to be as large as
yes.
possible. Yeah.
I mean, wow. Like,
If it's health and safety
incredible.
concern, you have to do it. But the biggest thing you have to take out of this is there are no FHA inspectors, and the FHA does not call for repairs. And this started 27 years ago. FHA HUD Home Ownership Center came to the Sheraton in Lisle. I was at the meeting. We had a room full of 370, maybe 400 people in there, and they said we are no longer in the calling for repair business. They used to have a three-page form that was called VC sheet, valuation condition checklist, where they had you check off repairs. That's gone. That's gone. If it's health and safety concerns, you must address it when selling a home.
And if it's health and safety concerns, correct me if I'm wrong, Randy, it ain't going to pass conventional VA. It doesn't matter what the hell the loan type is. It has to get remediated, like you were saying, whatever sort of loan type you are trying to obtain on buying that property.
I've
Is that
seen
correct?
it before when an appraiser goes out, there's a hole in the roof, right? And the person knows about it, but they tarp it and they try to get away with it. That needs to be fixed. There's a hole in the roof.
Well, I've got a
Doesn't matter if
license,
it's
and I don't want to
conventional.
get sued, and I don't want to be a part of anything illegal in this industry. So you have to do it. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not a roofer, so I take a picture of the holes in the roof and the shingles falling off. Like I said, on one house that I went up to do, and this has happened several times, I take pictures. And so I said, the appraisers cannot no longer call for certifications anymore. They don't want that happening. That was for the last 12 years. So I recommend a roofing contractor to go out and look at it. So one of the houses I did was a really bad roof, and they had somebody sign off on a piece of paper, a roofing contractor, that it was good for 5 years. And I know that was not true, but it's not up to me. It's not up to me at all, and I don't have the liability for that. But yeah, if it's health and safety, and you can't, if all utilities on and it's not. Here's the other thing I wanted to share with you guys. This also happened this spring. I did a townhouse. It was a retired couple. The husband, maybe in late 70s, passed away. Mom's going into a retirement home. And nice 2-story townhouse. So I did my appraisal on the townhouse. 2 months later, the person who bought it called me and says, Randy Barcella, I got a bone to pick with you. What? She goes, I bought that townhouse and I found out that a couple of the jets in the whirlpool in the primary bathroom did not work, and a couple of the light switches in the house didn't work. I said, did you get a home inspection? She said, no, I went FHA because you're supposed to protect me.
Oh, gosh.
I didn't have to get a home inspection. Here's right out of the HUD guideline handbook here. It says, I'm reading out of the handbook right now. FHA appraisals are no guarantee that the property is free from defects. The appraisal only establishes the value of the property for mortgage insurance purposes. Buyers need to secure their own home inspections through the services of a qualified inspection and satisfy themselves about the condition of the property. So we don't do home inspections, and FHA does not call for repairs.
No, and it's a common misconception that we as the lender require an inspection as well. I have clients ask that all the time. Well, we're getting an inspection. Do you need that report? No, we don't. We just need an appraisal back.
Yes.
But we recommend you get the inspection always because, like you just said, it's very important for a myriad of reasons.
So as a real estate broker, and even as a buyer or seller, you get an appraisal back. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that the appraiser called for. You need to call me or call FHA or whoever, but I recommend calling me because I already know the HUD guideline 4000.0 handbook like the back of my hand. And I'll tell you which repairs are valid or not. Randy Barcella, 708-870-9400. Randy Barcella, 708-870-9400. And if the appraiser will not take that off of the appraisal, I'll give you the FHA hotline. The appraiser has to remove it. You cannot have subjective, made-up repairs. I had another deal that they called me on one of the real estate. It was a RE/MAX agent. There was a little bit of water by the drain tub in the basement next to the washing machine. And the appraiser called for rotting out the drain tile up through the basement, up to the curb in the front of the house. The hose from the wash machine had come off the side of the utility tub and it leaked a puddle of water on the ground. That's it. So an appraiser cannot call for plumbing expertise because the appraiser is not a plumber or an electrician. They can suggest certain things be done, but there's a lot of things that appraisers I've heard are calling for that are not valid at all. And you really got to be careful for that. And I had told, and one of the,
Is there a reason they do that, Randy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was going to ask you why are they calling for things that is it incompetency?
I say that they need a lot
fear?
more continuing education, which could be transferred, synonymous with incompetency. But this is why I need all the real estate brokers and loan officers and buyers and sellers to stick up for yourself. You're not letting this deal die because an appraiser made up repairs that don't have to be done, and they're not health and safety concerns, because this is serious business. It's not just you selling your home and somebody buying it. There's 3 other deals attached to this where people have the movers. They already registered the kids to the new school district. This is serious business.
And like you said, Randy, I feel like all of us probably have had this where you get these conditions on an appraisal and everyone's so antsy to get in that house, you just kind of get worn out and you're like, all right, this is only a 10-year-old house, but they're saying we got to repaint this area, and people do it.
They do it. They knock it out because they want to move.
And sometimes there's handrails that are asked for, like all around Midway Airport, Archer Heights, neighborhood in Garfield Ridge. There's these, and they're on the north side too. 1-story brick house. Some people calls it a raised ranch, and right behind the kitchen, there's a little 3-foot wide space where you walk down the stairs to go out to the back of the house. It's all over Chicago, and you keep going down those stairs, and you're in the basement. Well, it's only 3 feet wide. Somebody's calling for handrails on each side. You're not falling. You're going to bump into the drywall. You're not falling down. Let's say you're on a 2-story house and it's stairs 7 to the right, 7 to the left, and it's wide open and there's no handrails. Yes, you could fall down and kill yourself.
And I think that goes back into the health and safety hazard or condition of the property, and that seems to be, as you just explained it, a little subjective. Right? Because I think you just said, hey, it's a 3
I only
foot.
call for repairs that are in the HUD 4000.1 handbook guideline. And the real estate brokers are such experts now, and the loan officers are such experts now. When you're getting your house ready for sale, and I'm also a real estate broker, I said, check with your local village if they require GFC outlets and solar carbon. Get this ready now and see what they're going to call for, and get this stuff ready before we put it on the market for sale. So pretty much all the real estate brokers are really good at advising the people who own the home before taking the listing. But I want you to be, and also too, not just call me. If you want to see a lot of the things that I have in writing and podcasts and photos on my website, realestaterevealed.com. Real Estate Revealed, that's my website, Real Estate Revealed, REV as in Victor, EALED, realestaterevealed.com. There's 10 years of information on there, and certainly call me anytime. Even if it's not my deal, I want you to call me. If you're a real estate broker or loan officer, Randy Barcella, 708-870-9400, 708-870-9400. But I want everybody to know FHA value is the same as conventional value, which is the same as VA value. A house is worth what a house is. And never listen to these statements. FHA has always called for this. FHA is going to call for this. And this house will never fly FHA. Those are rumors. They don't exist. It's just not true. It's not true.
I love it. Well, we have some questions. A couple more. How long do we have you for? Do we have you for a little bit longer?
All day. I love being here.
I love it. Awesome. We have a couple more questions, and thank you for dispelling those myths. I think people are going to love that, honestly. So let's hop into just a couple quick more questions for our guy, Randy, here.
Okay.
All right, Randy, this is going to be good for agents or sellers going to sell. Like, what factors actually have the most impact on a home's appraised value? What's some upgrades or something good to focus on?
Well, number one is the lot. Like my home is for sale now, and my home is worth $100,000 more than any other home in the town because my backyard is 8 acres, lake and woods. And there's 10 of us houses on the lake. And if you just do a MLS search for a broker's price opinion, they won't be able to tell you that I get $100,000 more for my house because we co-own the 8 acres lot, lake in the backyard. Whereas if you're also doing a home and it's next to a school and a church and the gas station's on the corner, the location is really important. So where's your lot? Is it near a busy street? And there's a lot of people, I don't know why, they buy houses on busy roads. They just, what they do, I don't know. But you need, so when we take pictures of homes for the appraisals, it's a really nice house, but then we have to take a picture of the street scene. And I take a picture of the street, it's a busy 4-lane highway. That's a big deal, the lot size. And then how old is the furnace? How old is the roof? How old, do you have the electric updated to 100 amp service? Those are just basic things you want to have done. And updated kitchens and bathrooms are huge.
I usually say that's one of the biggest.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right, Randy. So in our business, sitting in the loan officer seat, we've come to really love when we get an appraisal waiver. It's important to us because, one, we don't have to worry about the appraisal, and two, it saves the client some money. Can you explain as to how that is occurring in today's business and how that might change the course of your business both now and into the future?
And so are you suggesting that the lender does not need an appraisal?
Yeah, so when we have like a conventional loan, we can run it through automated underwriting system findings and get the
It's
property
my
inspection
understanding
waiver.
that,
Fannie and Freddie only, though, conventional, right? We're not going to get this on a VA loan
Okay.
or an FHA loan.
so it's all about risk and the loans and the risk of them lending you the money. Let's say the house is worth $700,000. The couple's in their late 60s. They owe $100,000. There's $600,000 equity, and their credit score is 750. They're not going anywhere, so it's okay.
Does that
There's no risk in that loan.
Does that I guess scare, I don't know if scare is the right word. I mean, is that taking away business or more business from appraisers who would like to go out and give an opinion?
Not a lot, because my understanding is that 90% of the public is living paycheck to paycheck. And if your refrigerator goes down, they don't have $1,000 in the bank. If your car breaks down, they don't have $1,000 in the bank to help fix that. So not a lot of people have, let's say, 750 to 850 credit score, which is, if you come in for a loan application and you say you have an 820 credit score, you're going to buy whatever you want. I'd say 90% of the people have a credit score, and you're a loan officer, under 700, and most people may have just enough of 620 or 600 to get the loan. And so there's not, I don't hear of a lot of appraisal waivers, so it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
much to
they
me.
don't come around often, to be honest. So you hit it on the head. It is all about risk. And
In fact, gentlemen, I had 3 refis over 30 years, and I had no doc, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Bring that back. But I don't need any loans now anymore because, but there's a lot of changes. Here's another reason why you want to stay with one of these gentlemen here at LeaderOne Financial. There's changes in the mortgage industry that are going on every month now, not every 5 or 10 or 15 years. The real estate sales contract went to a 7 to an 8 point something to, it's changing all the time. These guys are up to date and current on everything. That's why they're successful, and they're successful not because they make money. They're successful because they're putting people in houses that no other mortgage company was able to do. Other mortgage companies are not as educated and don't know enough about the industry, but these gentlemen do. So don't pass up, and you want to have it as an option to call LeaderOne Financial here in Oak Brook for your mortgage, because they're up to date on the changes.
We
Aren't there
appreciate the
changes?
plug here,
we need
Randy.
Randy on
He's a hype-up
every
guy.
episode.
Hype-up guy.
Every episode we need Randy on. We
Okay,
appreciate that.
here's some 5 different things that FHA just came out with, and we've been fighting this on the appraisal board in Illinois for 20 years. When we do an appraisal, the home inspector goes in the crawl space, and they go in the attic, and they got to take pictures of film or anything. Just 2 weeks ago, FHA said the appraiser no longer has to take pictures of attics and no longer has to take a picture of the crawl space.
No Head and Shoulders anymore?
Yeah, they want us
Right.
to look, but also the MLS printout, it's pretty current. These are the houses that sold. FHA, VA, conventional, they said, go drive out to the house. This is another hour worth of time for the appraiser. It's the same picture that's in the MLS, but they want us to drive out there. FHA just said 2 weeks ago, the appraiser no longer has to take photos of the photo of the house now. Copy and paste the photo of the sale that was just in the MLS a few months ago. That's a big deal.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I got one last one for you. It's a bonus question.
All right.
What's the weirdest thing or situation you've encountered during an appraisal inspection?
I'm sure you've seen some crazy stuff here.
Well, I want to say that's a really health and safety issue. 3 times in my 39 years as an appraiser, 3 times I walked into a hoarder's home. And how you see it on TV, on those programs, isn't as it is in person. It's worse in person. There's boxes and papers and stuff and food in every room from the floor to 6 feet up. I can't walk through the house. And one of them was on TV, and I didn't ever got in because the smell was so bad. But it was somebody who passed away, an elderly person, and the cats had already drank the water out of the toilets and everything, and they were starting to try to find flesh if they could.
Oh my gosh.
But,
Oh my
That
God.
smell.
but here's what happens on a hoarder, on somebody when they get to be older. Some people, I've done houses where they haven't touched the toilet in maybe 5 or 10 years, or the kitchen in 5 or 10 years. They're just mentally depressed and old, and maybe dementia, Alzheimer's, but they don't have it, and they're secluded in the house. So I think the health and safety concerns is I've been in hoarders' houses where it's pathetically bad, and it smells so bad you can't even walk in. You have to have a hazmat mask. So those are weird things. It's just it's just amazing. But
Any agents or like borrowers or lenders reaming you out for your opinion of value?
well, not me, because I'm glad you brought this up. I should have brought this up earlier. Okay, everybody, appraisers do not come up with the value of the house. I need to repeat that. Appraisers do not come up with the value of what the house is actually worth. The buyers and sellers have been looking for a long time to buy and sell. They're working with real estate brokers. They've already gotten pre-approved by their loan officers. They know what the market is out there. So they come to an agreement. The house is listed for sale. The buyer and sellers agree on the price. That's the value of the house.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Yes.
Thank
End
you.
of story.
Thank you.
So as
Louder
an
for the
appraiser,
people in the back.
as
say
an-
that again. Say that one
Okay.
more time.
the buyers and sellers are intelligent and they know the market. They make an offer. The seller says, "I accept your offer." They sign the contract. The house, they bought a house for $550,000, and that's the value.
Let's take a
Period.
step back really quick and go high level on that. If there's no loan being done and there's no appraisal being done, what's the home worth? What it says on the contract, correct?
It's what somebody's willing to
It's
pay
what
for the property.
somebody's willing to
Correct.
pay for.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
So I've done. I had a property in a high rise on Indiana Avenue. I think it was a 6-story building overlooking Lake Michigan, and there was a rich person living there that bought 2 units, knocked the walls down. And this also happened in the towers by Navy Pier,
Yep.
where the house is worth $2 million, or the condo, because they bought 3 units and tore the walls down. There's no comparables at all, but the person wanted to pay $2 million, and the last comp might have been $1 million, but there's no loan on there. It doesn't matter. That's what he wanted to pay. But
Randy, in that situation, the one you just said, where there's no comparables, but it's worth that amount. How hard is your job as an appraiser? Or what do you do in those situations where
a
the
mortgage company
comparables are
won't take
really
it.
hard?
A mortgage company
they won't
take it.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to have at least
you want
one
the value
comp at value.
Let's say the
right?
house sold for $1 million. You want to have a sale at $1.2 million, $900,000, and maybe at $1 million. So they know it's in the range of that. But I've also heard, excuse me. Let's say, and here's a perfect example. And real estate brokers, you're going to tell me, Randy, I know it happens all the time, and it's still happening. Let's say the house sold for $550. One of the comps were $570. Another comp was $540 and $520. And the appraiser comes in at $530 on a $550 sales price. What? The sales price is within the bracketed range of the sale. The sales contract is in the bracket range, and most of the comparables that the appraiser is using is 6, 9, 12 months ago. Okay, appraisal values, not just appraisal values, home values have gone up since 9, 10, 12 months ago. Why are you basing your appraisal value, appraiser, on an old comp?
Yeah.
I've had $1 for every time that happened over the years.
So what I tell,
Because
and
they-
it was
they
going
look
on
back,
during
yeah.
COVID, and it goes on a lot today. What appraisers are not using enough of, the first box at the top of the appraisal is days on the market, 1. You have to make a time adjustment.
There you go.
$10,000, $15,000, $20,000. They had multiple offers, and it's sold in 24 hours or the same day. But if you have a comp that is 10, 12 months old, you have to make a time adjustment because it's worth more now. So they're not using that. A lot of appraisers, you have to make a time adjustment. Well, how does property values, real estate brokers, you're going to tell me this the same and everybody else. How does property values go from 550 to 600 in a year or two? Because the next house sold for more, sold for more, sold for more.
Competition of the market.
You have to appraise a house at the sales contract price, and not give it your own personal value. The value of that house now is $600, not $550. The buyers and the sellers agreed to that. I know there's extreme situations where the house was sold for $150 over, so they bought it for $700 over $550, but that buyer really wants it, and they came up with the cash in between all that. But most of the time, the value of your home is what the buyers and seller agreed to pay, and the appraiser is to justify that price on paper and get it in so people can go on their lives, and this whole cycle of real estate will go on. And also, too, I think you guys say this, I've seen you guys say this before, I don't want you to wait to buy a house. I've seen over 3 years now, people sitting on the sidelines to buy a house. And they said, we're waiting for the rates to go down to 3 and 4% like where they were 6 years ago. Everybody, that's not going to happen again. That happened for 3 years, and that was a very small amount of time in the world where we had 3 years of COVID. So you said no to buying that house for $550 3.5 years ago. It's now worth $625. You missed out on $100,000 equity of the house because you're waiting for the rate to go down. Rates always come down. I've been in this business almost 40 years. They're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. They're up, they're going to go down. Buy the house that you want to buy it at because property values are still going up in value, and refinance it in a year or two. Don't just sit on the sidelines for another year or 2 or 3. You want to buy. And also, too, the reality is the last time we had a big boom was 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if you've been around that long. The interest rates I looked up at 2007 were 7%, and I was working 7 days a week. It was booming. Yep. And then we had the crash. And we had the crash because people weren't putting money down, so your value of the house went from $500 to $250. The last 15 years, the lenders learned you have to put some skin in the game. You have to put a down payment. So even though the interest rates from 3 and 4 went up to 7 approximately, the property values continue to go up, and they're still going up. So don't wait. I mean, who called it? Marry the house, date the rate? Yeah, something like that. But don't sit on the sidelines anymore because, and also too, this is the other point. Even it doesn't matter if rates are 15%, 7 or 3. The senior citizens are passing away. They have to sell. The newlyweds, she's pregnant. They got to get out of that apartment. They have to get into a house. So the housing cycle is going to continue the rest of our lives, no matter what the rates are. But number one, it's an honor, total honor. And I'm so flattered that these gentlemen from LeaderOne asked me to come on their show because they're the real deal. They're the best in the industry. And certainly keep us on your team. Call me for any appraisal guidelines. Let me do lunch and learns at your real estate broker's office. You need to use LeaderOne as your loan officers. That's how good they are. And I'm unbelievably flattered and so honored that they had me on your show today. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for coming. That was awesome, Randy.
We are extremely grateful and honored to have you. You have been a hit. I already know it. This is going to go crazy, this episode. So we thank you so much. And for one last time, let's do the plug for you. Tell them where they can, what your number is, where they can find you. Give us one last plug here.
Randy Barcella. I appraise houses as far south as Kankakee, Dwight, Illinois, Morris, Sandwich, Illinois, all the way north to Antioch on the Wisconsin border, from Winthrop Harbor on the Wisconsin border, all of Chicago, back down south to Crete, Piatone, Manteno. I'm available 7 days a week. 708-870-9400. That's my cell phone. It's with me all the time. Did you ever? I've had real estate brokers where I call to set up an appraisal. I get a voicemail. Hi, me and my wife, or husband and wife, we will only return calls up until 7 p.m. tonight. But if it's after the hour, we'll call you back the next business day, which might be Monday because today's Friday. Okay, every one of these gentlemen here at LeaderOne has their cell phone on. Okay, on. Mine's on every day. How can you survive without responding right away? You're going to lose a deal. So, yeah, call me, 708-870-9400. My website, realestaterevealed.com, R-E-V as in Victor, E-A-L-E-D.com. Randy Barcella on realestaterevealed.com. And
loan officers, call Randy. If you have questions,
Randy
call
on
Randy.
Get Randy.
It doesn't have to be
panel.
your deal. Like I said, I've succeeded in media because I was told, bring valuable content and information to the audience to make their lives easier. We're trying to help people own a home, which is the greatest thing you ever want to do in the United States, home ownership. We want to help you get your credit score up. We want to help you get the right deal, the right sales price, the right appraisal value. So you want us on your team. So if you're a real estate broker and you're not using LeaderOne, you need to use them, and you need to have me at your office meetings because, like I said, once again, we're doing this to help people. That's it. We're not here to make a ton of money, although that's the benefits if you're good at what you do. We're here to help you get a mortgage, buy a home, do the right thing in life.
I love
American
that.
dream.
Thank
Not
you.
about money, Jimmy. What's your main statement?
Impact over income.
Let's go.
Impact over income. Well, Randy, again, it's been a pleasure. You will be on if you'll let us have you on again.
I think we could put 200 people in a room
I think
We
we
should
can.
do that.
I
and
think we
serve a
can.
lunch and learn at that big of a room.
I think we can, but we are so grateful to have you on, and thank you so much. We appreciate it, guys, gals, whoever's listening. Please reach out to Randy if you ever need anything. Go to his website. Stay in tune with him, and because you can see he provides such value.
Here's another thing. I tell realtors all the time, before you take a listing, call me. I'll meet you at the property, free. Just buy me lunch or something. I'll meet you at the property. I'll say, this is fine. There's nothing wrong at all with this house. You're worrying about nothing. Move forward. Or I'll tell you, yeah, this is a concern and that's a concern. Use my free services because, and does it cost anybody a lot of money to get pre-approved by you guys to call you? Does it cost a lot?
$0.
Okay, everybody, it's free.
Free 99. Free 99. Well, again,
I
Randy,
love
thank
that.
you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I hope you guys who are watching and listening enjoyed that segment. We are going to kick it back to ourselves in the lab for lab tested questions and end of the episode. Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, Randy.
All right, we are back, and wow, what an interview. What a
Randy.
guest.
Incredible.
Randy.
I mean, as you guys, if you listened to all that, and hopefully you did or watched it, Randy's been in the game for a long time and knows his shit.
He's a really smart guy. Really smart guy. You could tell. I mean, he can list the facts, man. And he's got his opinions, but those opinions are fact almost too because he has so much experience.
Just such great value for everybody listening.
Yeah.
I mean, realtors and loan officers and you buyers and sellers out there. I mean, so jam packed. John, you booked Randy. Tell us, how did you get in touch with Randy? Like, where was the connection there?
It was probably a few years back, just called him on an appraisal with some questions, asking about something that came up. I'm trying to remember which deal it was, on a repair or something needed. Or actually it was underwriter calling out something they thought should have been brought up FHA related. That makes sense now.
Yep.
And we just got to chat, and I just saw right away just the knowledge he brings, how much he cares about, the way he understands that there's just so many myths out. So then he was my go-to to check in on things. We always kept in touch. And then as soon as the podcast got going, we gotta have him. He brings so much value.
It's awesome how he almost like takes it personal. All the stuff that
Definitely.
can go wrong, he's like, that is incorrect, and here's why. Like, he just knows off the back of his hand all these different facts and things that people often, I mean, he makes mention of it. Like, there's some appraisers that go out there and they see peeling paint, they condition for it.
And it was funny too. We were like wrapped up and we were chatting with him, and he's still going like,
Yep.
hey,
Yeah.
like I had this appraisal last week and like they didn't understand this. Like he just loves giving that. And my favorite part probably
He's
was,
like, here's another example.
He
Like, we're not
was.
recording
Yes,
anymore.
we weren't. Yeah. And
Nuggets.
my favorite part of that whole thing was just, he was, you can tell his why behind why he does this.
Yeah.
And it's genuine.
He's a leader of his industry like we are ourselves. So it's awesome to hear that perspective.
He wants to do right by people.
No doubt.
Yep.
No doubt. And you can feel that energy off of him. You can tell by the way he talks and the way he, carries himself as well too. So
Agreed.
what an awesome guest, John. Way to book it.
Yeah,
like
thanks,
who
man.
can you get next for us?
Right? I don't know how to top that, dude. That's a tough one. Randy brought the fire.
It was awesome. It was awesome. All right. So we hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll probably have Randy on again. He plugged his number and his website a million times. So
Multiple
please
times.
go check him out. And you guys will be thankful that you did. So awesome interview. Let's get into the best Loan Lab podcast segment, Lab Tested Questions, baby. And we got Johnny Stacks. Where did the Stacks nickname come from?
I got to give that to Pete Gabrione.
Okay.
Yes.
Our boy from the past there. He, I think it was just related to stacking files as we did
There
all
we
paper back in the day. I didn't know what PITI was when I first got going into this.
But you could stack a file.
But we were getting loans going. Rates were so low, and that's how it got started, I think. And that's a character I want to say from Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Stacks.
I think he
Yeah.
got killed off though. So
Yeah,
maybe that's not
yeah,
the best
yeah.
comparison there, but that stuck.
Well,
That
we
stuck
got
since.
we got Johnny Stacks on for lab tested questions. We have about 5 or 6 of them today again,
Let's do them all, man.
which is awesome. So first and foremost, thank you for contributing these questions again. Favorite segment by far. This gets the most views, the most clips. Like this is awesome that we can interact with our audience. So thanks so much. We'll get into question number 1. And this is one of 3 question from my boy, Chris Miller, one of my best friends from home. Shout out Wreck and Crew. Shout out Chris. Thank you so much for contributing these. He's in a situation or he said these kind of apply to me. And I think these apply to a lot of people. So we'll start with question number 1. Where do you see mortgage rates heading in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that in mortgage rates in a minute, right?
Yes.
6 to 12 months. I would really, I say hope that we could see a 5.99 by Q2 or Q3 next year.
5
Low
handle.
sixes.
Yeah.
Low sixes
high.
getting around like the holidays, hopefully.
That'd be great.
And then rolling it in the next year.
That'd
think
be awesome.
I think it's 5 handle by next year.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. 5 handle. It could be 5.99. It could be 5.5. But I think there's a 5 in front of that percentage point, Chris.
It's almost like worst case scenario. I say Q3, like maybe this time next year is when it happens. But that'd be, again, worst case scenario. I'd like to see a little bit happen.
It's a lagging indicator we're seeing now with FHA pricing,
Yeah.
kind of getting down to that with
Right.
a lot of rebate and premium in the back end of it. That's kind of like a signal for us in the business to say conventional is going to follow suit.
They're
We're
heading
going to
down.
get there.
Yeah.
No doubt. No doubt. Okay. Second question from Chris. Is it better to pay off your mortgage early or invest that money somewhere else?
Everyone's situation is different. One of the things that I always show my clients on the TCA, the total cost analysis, is what happens if you keep more money, let's say, out of the house and put it into the market. Some people are more risk averse than others, right? You can show within our software a very reasonable 4% rate of return, right? And what that money would do. You could show them a 10% rate of return and what that money would do. And compare and contrast that to, let's say, an average rate of return in real estate, which is anywhere from 3 to 5%. So it is situationally specific. I know we say that all the time. It's kind of a cop-out when answering these questions. But for Chris, that's what you would knock out in a consult with him, right?
Yep.
And talk about that specifically.
Age specific too.
Very,
You
yes,
know,
very good
older
point.
demographic, you're going to want to pay it down faster, likely. Younger, do you want to invest in the market? Do you have aspirations to buy more property? You want to be a real estate investor? I would say
Yeah.
don't overpay then. Save for that down payment on the next house.
That's a
I
great
did
point.
that twice. and
Yeah, man.
It's great for the future kind of appreciation and rent roll.
I love that. And that's what I call like a freedom point for my clients. If you're 30 years old, in 30 years, let's say with a 30-year mortgage, right, it's paid off, right, in a perfect world. If you were investing the money that you would have otherwise, overpaid your mortgage with, you can pay off your mortgage in 15 years, right?
That's a
Because
great
it's
point.
grown to such a clip that you have that money then just sitting there. So if there's some sort of emergency or whatever, you can just say, well, I have the money to pay off my mortgage early now, but I never actually overpaid the thing.
And they allow you to now recast everyone too. So if
Lower
you're
the
running into a
payment. Yep.
payment struggle, that'll help that.
I've been it's funny Chris brings this up because I've been thinking about this with my own personal situation. I used to be like, put that money elsewhere, right? Like invest it, especially on my first house. Now that I'm in the new house and I don't plan on going anywhere anymore, and I'm thinking in my head like, damn, in 30 years or 20 years, I'm going to be 55 or whatever it is, right? Not necessarily do I want to pay down my mortgage with like a lump sum, like, and pay it down quicker, but the biweekly payments and doing one extra payment a year is a bit intriguing to me. And the only reason I say it is
It's all about comfortability though, right? Like you're talking about that essentially right now. If it's comforting for you to do that, then do it.
I'm
You're
not
not throwing away money.
I'm not a big guy of like, I'm just going to put a lump sum, right?
Yeah.
But if I can set it and forget it, and that's where I'm getting to, like you see all these investment apps and like you can just set it and forget it. And it's like, if I put $100 into Bitcoin every single week, I don't even know it's gone, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
My mindset behind that is like, man, if I can just set it and forget it and do one extra payment, but bi-weekly payments where I'm not even really like doing a big lump sum, it's just worked into my monthly budget.
Yeah,
I'm
'cause
kind of
great
leaning.
strategy.
You know
It
what I
is.
mean?
It's
Like
a great strategy.
because it does, it'll knock off 4 or 5 years off the life of the loan. And I understand maybe it's not much, but now that I'm getting older a little bit, and I'm like, man, if I can if I can be mortgage free, and who knows what's going to happen, right?
You'll
I'll probably
refi.
pull refi and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. But
You'll refi multiple times.
just cutting down that balance and just knocking off the life of the loan as I'm getting a little older seems a little enticing to me, but it's only going to be at a set it and forget it type deal.
Yeah, like the other side of that spectrum is you've got $5,000 laying around. You're like, oh, should I put it towards my mortgage? Once you put it towards your mortgage, guys, you can't get that money back, at least not right away.
Right.
It's not like it disappears, but it's a very illiquid investment being in the walls of your home. It's going to grow, yes, sure. You're going to pay down your mortgage. It might feel better for you. But if you're more, keen on having that money readily available, then keep it in that checking account. Or if you want to invest
Sure.
in a CD, something that's very
There's
secure
a lot
that
of
way.
low risk options.
Yes, very,
Yeah.
very.
Like you
very much
said,
true.
I mean, you can't get it back
Yeah.
unless you're going to tap in your equity through a HELoan, HELOC, cash out refi. That's
or
gone.
sell the
Or
crib.
sell.
Yeah. So great question, Chris. Pretty specific, man. Or financially or specific to your situation.
But you've got options. That's again,
definitely
very good
options.
question.
Definitely options. Last one from Chris. Should people refinance now or wait for future rates to drop? Always a great question.
Common one we get every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that most of my clients right now that are starting to think refi are still in like that high 6 to low 7 range. Like I don't have many clients that I haven't already refinanced that have like a 7.99 rate or something, which is rates had gotten that high at one point for a small period of time. So I am preaching to most in that threshold to wait, because I don't see a ton of benefit unless we're looking at their situational specific, consult like we do, and it makes more sense to maybe drop their or take cash out, right? Like different situations. Just getting into a new 30-year fixed mortgage might not make a ton of sense.
I agree, and I think there's just not a lot of bang for your buck at this current moment right now with where people have gotten rates in the past. Like you said, if it's a 7.99 in the 8s, yes, you have benefit right now to be able to refinance.
Or
One
you did
thing
a
I
bank
would
statement loan at
Yes,
9%. Now you can get
exactly,
down to a conventional prime rate. Yeah, of course.
It's
it makes
all
a ton
about
of
cost
sense.
too.
I was
right?
just- yep.
We always do that calculation probably with every client consult, like looking at the cost of the refi divided into the savings. If that's going to be 12 months, let's just use for example, or under. I mean, what is it? Two in the bush, or two in the hand, one in the bush.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
That savings is there right now, and we're expecting rates to keep falling. There's nothing wrong with refinancing multiple times as long as you're not getting thumped over the head with a bunch of closing costs.
I think
right?
that's a good point, Stax, because like you yourself and your own philosophy with your business, you need to have like your own litmus test, and keep that constant for every client. All right, well, 12 months is my number. If they can recoup in 12 months, it makes sense. You can't be telling one person 2 years, the other one 10 years. It just
Exactly.
you have to be consistent.
And they have to be on board with the same understanding and philosophy with where rates. If they feel confident that they're going to be going down and be in a much lower spot a year from now, then
Yeah, I agree.
everyone's aligned and it makes sense to maybe pull the trigger.
Yeah,
like
again, kind of specific to the situation, but I think we hit it on the head is the costs associated with it need to make sense for what the benefit just has to.
For that particular person, yeah.
Chris, thank you, brother. We appreciate the lab tested questions. I have another one from another Wrecking Crew member, Aaron Einhorn. You guys both know
Yep.
Aaron,
Yeah,
my
Aaron.
best man at my wedding. Shout out to Aaron. So he wants us to describe the mechanics of a loan against equity. So what does the mortgage holder or the client have to do to get one? And then what does that mean for their overall mortgage payment? How does it affect principal, rate, or monthly payment? There's a bunch of different ways that you can take a loan against equity, and I think we should briefly hit on what those are and how it affects your mortgage. Great question, Aaron.
Yeah, very good question. 3 main ways, right? Cash out refinance, HELOC, which is a line of credit against the home, or what we consider a HELoan, which is really just a fixed second mortgage. So you keep your first loan, let's say you have a 3%, then you wanted to still get money out, but you can't really justify the cash out, and you don't like maybe the variable rate or the variable payment associated with the line of credit. That's when that fixed second mortgage might make more sense.
What does the mortgage holder have to do to obtain one of these loans? And I'm kind of leaning on like what sort of equity does somebody have to have in order to get a loan against their equity?
I mean, every state's a little bit different, but I see most, if you're going for that HELOC or HELoan Jimmy was referencing, I mean, that's going to be up to 90%, right? In Illinois, at least. Some go to 95. So you got to have that 5 to 10% skin in the game already, qualify the same way as most other loans. We actually work with a couple of companies that are really leveraging AI on these HELOCs. I just had one that it's closing today, and we apped it and got it started 4 days ago.
It's
I mean,
so
they're
great.
just pulling tax transcripts behind the scenes to validate the income, to make sure that you have the capacity to qualify. They do an AVM check to ensure the value is there and that it has a 90% or higher confidence level. So they're checking that box, and they're obviously doing the credit check. So it's all behind the scenes and very quick when it comes to that.
You have to have equity and some skin in the game, like John said. You put that really great, and you can't take more of a loan than what your place is worth, and it can't even be up to what your place is worth in most cases.
VA, you can. 100%.
VA, you can. You can take 100% of what what your home is worth when it comes to total loan balances, or combined loan to value percentage is what we call it internally as mortgage professionals. To answer his question about how does it affect principal rate and monthly payment, depending on the specific equity loan that you're taking, it will affect your principal and your rate differently. For the first cash out refinance, right?
Oh man, there were a couple years ago. This isn't very long ago. Someone's coming to us with a 4% rate. They want to take out $100,000, and we're then lowering their mortgage rate on a 30-year fixed loan to 2.75. They're getting $100,000 out. Their monthly payment might go down, right? Like we saw a lot of those situations. Fortunately, those times are gone. So if you're going to be stripping equity from your home, more often than not, that monthly payment is going to change for the worse, and it's not bad news. It's just the reality of the situation. You're stripping equity from the home, and you're paying it back on top of that original first mortgage.
Yeah, and when we say cash out refinances or first mortgages, you are remortgaging the total balance that you have on your first mortgage. So your example, $400,000 is where your balance is now. If you do a cash out refinance, say you're getting $100,000, your new mortgage balance goes to $500,000 at the rate that's presented to you at that time.
Yeah, the old loan's paid off entirely.
It's paid off entirely, and it's
Completely new
one
loan.
brand new loan. How about HELOCs or HELoans? Can you kind of talk to that and how it does or does not affect the first mortgage, and then what happens to payment, rate, all that good stuff?
Yeah, completely separate second lien position loan. So HELOC's going to be a line of credit that's going to have a draw period, typically 5 years or 10 years, and then it's going to have a remaining term of the 30-year as fixed. They're going to be variable for a HELOC, typically tied to prime with a margin, and then a HELoan is oftentimes going to be fixed, but also a second lien position. So you're stacking that payment on top of what you already have for the first payment. So you're going to be, leveling up that way. But just similar to a cash out refinance, to piggyback on what we were just talking about, how now you're going into a higher rate, that payment's going to go up. But why are most people doing that?
They don't want to
Pay off credit card debt.
So then important for us to do is show them the blended interest rates of the 25% credit card and all of that, and just figure out how much you're really saving in interest and total payment, not just your monthly payment.
Yeah, the
going
monthly
up.
obligation in that case is likely going down.
Right.
If you're paying off a 30% credit card that has a $40,000 balance or something crazy, you're going to see some very substantial savings, because this mortgage is based on a 30-year loan if it's 30 years on term.
Some people don't want to trade in that rate, but I look at it, it's like, well, look how much we're saving. Your total payment, you're bleeding out $3,000 a month in credit cards. Sometimes it's just going to make sense.
Yeah, and then you can show them if you do overpay your mortgage in that case, yes, the rate is higher, but you're actually paying off your loan sooner and saving in interest overall.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So definitely a little complex, but a great question. And between all of those options, it is extremely important to sit down with a mortgage professional and advisor and go through those options and figure out what's best for you and your family situation, and figure out how you can use that equity to further benefit your finances, because that's why we preach to buy a home. It's an asset. It's a usable asset, and you should use it. You got to just use it the smart way.
It's an option. As a renter, you don't have that option. It's that simple.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it, and appreciate you listening and submitting the lab tested question. We have one last one from our boy John Sintich.
Let's go.
He's an avid Loan Lab podcast listener. This is a great one. He asks, would Ben Johnson wait for rates to drop before buying a home?
No, he's probably already bought a sick crib in Lake Forest.
He's
on
bought
the water.
He's bought a sick crib, definitely. He would not wait, because he literally said in his press conference yesterday, this is a race
Yes.
to the start of the season, boys. Let's go. This is a race. So, John, thank you for the question. He would not wait.
Very good question, John.
We got to do it. Johnny Sachs is a big Bears fan too. Start a training camp. We're hyped up. How are we feeling about training camp, Bears? We're getting close to the fall. My wife's off season is coming to an end, and we're getting back into the swing of things. She can't wait. How we feeling, boys?
Yeah, some
Goosebumps
goosebumps
right
over.
there. It's that part of the summer, I feel like, where you're enjoying summer, but you're getting excited for football.
Yes,
so it's
absolutely.
bittersweet. Like the cold's coming, the Bears are coming too.
Bears are coming. There's like no sports on right now, which is ridiculous. Baseball, of course, but for whatever reason, you can't watch baseball every night anymore.
No.
You've got the Cubs on marquee, the Sox on the Chicago network, whatever, and even like ESPN. There's not a baseball game on every night like there is for hockey or basketball. Summer's just weird. So now I just log on to The Athletic because the Bears are in training camp, and I read my ass off, and I get pumped up.
You've been saying, Jimmy, it's like dog days of summer, and
Yeah.
it has been, and like this has been a nice little like boost of like, all right, the Twitter's firing up now. We're getting camp reports.
Motivating.
Like,
it truly is. I
it's-
love the Bears. I love when there's real hype about them because yesterday I was listening to the score, and David Hawes like, they are right now the worst team in their division because technically speaking, that's true. But after this year, that's not going to be true.
Better not be.
No.
Better not be. I think the fall, not only football, I mean, it's going to start getting excited, but I think we're going to start picking up, sorry to like just go transition into this, but I think after Labor Day, football comes back. I think business is going to start picking up a little bit too. And it's not been down, right? But just historically looking back, September, October have been pretty good months from fundings. And
Yeah.
I think it's funny how like the seasons work and
I'd have to look back, but this year, like August is lighter than June
Yes,
and July
I
for
agree.
sure. I don't know if that's always been the case or not. I feel like it is because then things do kind of start heating back up in fall and then cool down because here in Chicago, I mean, Christmas is like deadpan season, and it's great. The only times that we can really plug out are, and we've said this, but around 4th of July.
Yep.
And around Christmas,
Yep.
New Year's.
Well, you got that back to school effect, I think, right?
Yes.
Like people stop coming into July, they get the kids back going to school, or they have them shifting, and then people are kind of transacting again,
No doubt.
going into the fall.
So we are excited to, I don't know. I'm not a summer hater, but I'm just ready. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old.
Keep the heat
I'm
around
just-
for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But
like
bring the
I'm
football back.
I'm ready for fall. I'm ready to get into the swing of
I've
things
always
with football.
disliked August because it meant, football is almost here, but it's not there
I
quite
know.
yet. And like in high school, that's when like 2-a-days started back. I'm like, back at, which was always like, I loved football, but it was like, man, summer's over. Summer's
Exciting.
over.
It's exciting stuff coming up. Donnie Day, we appreciate you co-hosting with us today, man.
Been a
Thank you so
blast.
much.
Yeah,
Hopefully I can make it back.
You'll
Absolutely.
definitely be back on. You booked one of the best guests we've had.
was
So
fun.
thank you. And we appreciate you. Any last words? You want to tell everybody where they can find you on all your socials? Kind of give your plug, please, so that we can get you out there on the Lone Lab podcast, baby.
Oh, John Day Loan Pro on IG. Just search my name on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find me there. And looking forward to coming back. It's been a blast. Randy was incredible. I felt like that was
What an
so
animal
much
Randy is.
Good info and details. Not even for someone in the business, just someone outside, homeowners, someone looking to buy. I mean, that was special.
Don't people often freak out about the home's value when they're buying? Like, that's just one thing that I field questions about all the time. It's like, well, what if the appraisal comes in? Randy, we talk about that. Listen to this episode and get those little nuggets that he provides. We could talk about it all the time, but it's coming directly from the horse's mouth here. This guy's one of the top appraisers in the area.
Just a great episode, a great interview, and appreciate being here with you guys.
Yeah,
and
great
you
episode.
boys.
Absolutely.
Just one maybe little sneak peek is, us three, as I had mentioned, we are trying to start something special out here when it comes to the loan side of things and just impacting and helping everybody within the industry. Look out for some event postings and events coming up that we're going to be putting on. Maybe the Lone Lab podcast will sponsor some of these, but keep on the lookout for that. We'll just throw that teaser out there.
Big stuff coming.
Big stuff coming, but we're super excited to kind of get this thing off the ground and running with us three. I cannot thank you guys enough for listening, for subscribing, for sharing this podcast, for giving us the love. We are coming up, James, on 500 downloads.
I can't believe that was the 8th episode.
Coming up on 500
Yeah.
downloads. Yeah, I can't. 8 episodes in. We're going to continue to crank these out, but thank you so much. We're super grateful. Can't wait to get with you guys next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right.